After the death of the real Mustafa Muhammad al-Amin, the Moor who had dark olive-toned skin and woolly hair, prophet of the Quraysh tribe of Ishmael son of Hagar, whose original Egyptian name was Heket-Re, also known as Hake-Re the fertile one of Re, the Egyptian wife of Abraham in Islamic Hebrew, the Pale Desert Arabs killed his successors, as Sayyid Hassan and as Sayyid Hussein, sons of as Sayyidat Fatima, who was the daughter of Muhammad and Khadija, who is the wife of as Sayyid Amirul Mu'minin Ali, the bearer of the two-edged sword. You can see the two-edged sword at the bottom of our symbol. They were on a mission to destroy all of the direct descendants of Muhammad. A few years after the death of Muhammad, son of Abdullah and Amina, Islam was changed from pure Islamism to an adulterated, violent, terrorist, paganist religion, as it is today. These results came from the European Ottoman sultans who changed Islamism to Sunni and Shiite Islam, poisoned it, created all these different sects, changed the original teachings, created Hadith and Sunnah, etc., and changed the real Quran into what we have today, where the chapters are not in its original order. When Islam was ruled by the dark olive skin toned people, it was in its pristine purity. And it symbolized what its name meant, peace. However, when it got into the hands of these pale Arabs, it became an ugly religion, and these pale Arabs have been ruling ever since, even in the case with the Nation of Islam, NOI, whose teachings stemmed from a Caucasian named W.D. Farr, or Master Farr Muhammad. You won't find any dark olive skin toned rulers, ruling any Islamic countries today. They will not let that happen. So, now that Islam is corrupt, I give it back to you, retain it in my heart in its pure form as Islamism peace. That is why I gave you the teachings of the Mahdi, a direct descendant of Muhammad. The pale Arabs killed the successors of Muhammad to make sure that they would not be able to be Khalifa's successors after him. They knew that Muhammad made it clear that as Sayyid Amirul Mu'minin Ali would be his Khalifa successor, and that the Khalifaship successorship was supposed to stay in the bloodline. However, they wanted to inherit this empire for themselves, so they had to eliminate the rightful heirs to the throne. Abu Bakr, son of Uthman, not to be confused with Uthman, the so-called third Khalifa, was the first Khalifa after Muhammad's death. He was a red Arab and contributed little to the Islamic Empire. In 632 AD, Umar, son of Al-Khatib, became the second Khalifa. He was from the Umayyad tribe. They are the descendants of Kedar, the son of Ishmael. Under his reign, the Islamic Empire expanded to Egypt, Syria, Libya, Palestine, Persia and the northern part of Mesopotamia. The third Khalifa was Uthman ibn Affan. He also expanded the Islamic Empire, but he was responsible for the burning of the original Quran. Finally, as Sayyid Amir al-Mu'minin Ali ibn Abu Talib, 599 to 661 AD, the cousin of his Sayyid Muhammad became the fourth Khalifa. The Ottoman Turks are descendants of the Turkoman, Russian, nomads who entered Anatolia in the 11th century as mercenary soldiers of the Seljuks. The Ottoman Empire, also called the Turkish Empire, is a vast Turkish sultanate of Southwest Asia, Northeast Africa, and Southeast Europe. It was founded in the 13th century by Osman I, 1258 to 1324 AD. Osman was a descendant from the Kayi branch of the Oghuz Turkmen. He was a Turkish leader, and the son of Ardagrol, a chieftain in the service of the Seljuk Sultan of Rum, who established a principality centered at Sogat, who declared his independence from the Seljuk Sultanate of Iconium circa in 1290 AD. The name Ottoman was derived from Osman, which comes from the Arabic name Uthman. This empire came in after the decline of the Seljuks. They conquered what remained of the Seljuk states after the weakening of the Seljuks by the Christian Crusades, who conquered them in 1095 AD. The Seljuks are the first Turkish tribes who came from western Central Asia and settled in what is now central and eastern Turkey during the 1000 AD. They are a Turkish dynasty, prominent in the Middle East during the 11th and 12th century, where it invaded Islam. They are originally a clan that belonged to the Guz or Oghuz, also called the Turkmen, in Europe, which is a Turk tribe of Central Asia, that was converted to Islam in the 10th century. They established themselves in the Iranian province of Khorasan in the early 11th century. The Turkmen, or Turkoman, are a Central Asian ethnic group related to Anatolian Turks. They are Mediterranean Caucasoid in physical type and speak an Oghuz Turkic language. Oghuz Turks arrived on the Kazakh, Russian, upland in 600 AD. After the Arab conquest, the Oghuz expanded across Turkmenistan into the Middle East, and the Seljuk and Ottoman empires developed. During the period between 1040 and 1055 AD, the Seljuk chief, Togrul Beg, conquered most of Iran and Iraq and made himself protector of the Caliph of Baghdad, the spiritual leader of the Sunni, Orthodox, Muslims. Togrul was given the title Sultan by the Caliph, and he made war on the Shiite Muslims, also known as the Fatimids. These Fatimids were the sincere followers of the Prophet as Sayyid Muhammad, who accepted only Amir al-Mu'minin Ali as their Khalifa. They were called Fatimids after Muhammad's daughter, whom they protected with their lives. They rejected the other caliphs' authority. The Fatimid dynasty were the main enemy of the Seljuks. In the 12th century, their primary objectives were to eliminate the threat of heterodox Shiite Islam posed by the Fatimids of Egypt, where some members of the Seljuk dynasty saw an opportunity to win a realm of their own. They established the Sultanate of Rum, with its capital at Konya, which ruled central Anatolia in the 12th and 13th centuries. Turks, or Turkic people, are the principal descendants of large bands of nomads who roamed in the Altai Mountains in northern Mongolia. They are sometimes called the Altaic peoples. So the original Turks are of Mongolian and Russian roots. However, when they invaded the Byzantine Empire in 1071 AD, they mixed in with the Greeks and Romans of Constantinople in Europe. The word sultanate means the office power reign of a sultan, a country that is ruled by a sultan. The word sultan comes from Turkish, from Arabic sultan, from Aramaic sultana, from selat, meaning to rule. Most of the nomads who had made the initial Seljuk victories possible were soon pushed to the west of Anatolia, where frontier colonies were maintained against the last Byzantine defenses. Although the Sultanate of Rum imitated the Seljuks' empire of Baghdad, the presence within its boundaries of large numbers of Christians and its superimposition of Islam on top of a living Christian tradition produced a place considerably different from that of other Islamic states. This provided the basis for the unique Ottoman systems of government and society that began to emerge in the 14th century. Islam was destroyed by these Seljuks with the superimposition of Islam and Christianity. However, these Seljuks were soon overcome by the invasion of the Mongols under Genghis Khan in 1258 AD. In Anatolia, the Turkoman nomads used the resulting anarchy to form a series of principalities, nominally under the suzerainty, a nation that controls another nation in international affairs, but allows it domestic sovereignty, which is of Rum, which in turn was dominated by the Mongols. These principalities maintained themselves through their raids against one another and against the last Byzantine nobles who held out in western Anatolia. The Turks cleverly used this period of disorder to set up principalities that lasted throughout the Mongolian invasions. It was these principalities that the Ottomans emerged in history as leaders of those Turkomans. From this point on, the Ottoman Empire expanded and spread their newly formed Islam until 1529 AD. The periods between 1566 to 1918 AD was the decline of the Old Ottoman, and a reformed Ottoman Empire emerged. The sultans of this empire are the ones that formulated treaties that protected the Moors. The Treaty of 1787 AD protected the Moors in America. The Moorish Science Temple of America, founded by Noble Drew Ali in 1914 AD, are under the impression that the sultans of the Ottoman Empire are Muslims, when in actuality their Islam was created by the Seljuks of Turkey. The Islam that they follow is not pure Islam, it is a mixture of Christianity and Islam. The Turks were responsible for the spread of fake Islam. They even open up their Quran with the picture of the Saudi Arabian king, whom they call Sultan Abdul Aziz Abd ar-Rahman ibn Faisal ibn Turki Abd Allah ibn Muhammad al-Saud. That tells you that they are identifying with the Turks, because Saudi Arabians do not use the word sultan for their leaders. However, the Turks use sultan, effendi, shah, etc. Remember, Islam was already superimposed by Christianity during the reign of the Seljuks. Christianity came in again with the weakening of the Seljuks' control in the Mediterranean Near East in the 1100s and 1200s, which made it possible for temporary European Christian intrusions in the form of the Crusades. Their object was the recovery of the Holy Land, Jerusalem, from these now fake Muslims' control. The Crusades were Christian military expeditions undertaken by Western European Christians between 1095 and 1270 AD. The word crusade is derived from the French croisade and Spanish cruzada, both ultimately from Latin crux, cruc, meaning cross. The crusading armies were the military arm of Pope policy. The Crusaders wore a red cloth cross sewn on their tunics to indicate that they had assumed the cross and were soldiers of Christ. The Crusaders continued an older tradition of the pilgrimage to the Holy Land. They assumed a dual role as pilgrims and warriors. Their armed pilgrimage was regarded as a justifiable war, because it was fought to recapture the places sacred to Christians. Jerusalem had been under Muslim rule since the 7th century, but pilgrimages were not cut off until the 11th century, when the Seljuk Turks began to interfere with Christian pilgrims. Through these intrusions of Christians and Europeans, the pure Islam under the Black Seed of Muhammad was destroyed. Now it is ruled by Caucasians, who have taken it from its original form and tampered with it. So, as you can see, it was a deliberate attempt to push out the dark-skinned, woolly-haired prophet, Muhammad, who spread Islam when it was in its pristine purity, and bring a fake Muhammad, who they say in their Hadith was white. They are talking about two different Muhammads. Sahih al-Bukhari 744, states, narrated Ismail bin Abi Khalid, I heard Abu Juhayfa saying, I saw the Prophet, PBUH, and Al-Hasan bin Ali resembled him. I said to Abu Juhayfa, describe him for me. He said, he was white and his beard was black with some white hair. He promised to give us 13 young she-camels, but he expired before we could get them. And another hadith states that he wasn't totally white, or totally brown. This is an example of bad hadith. Sahih Bukhari 747 states, narrated Rabia bin Abi Abdurrahman I heard Anas bin Malik describing the Prophet, PBUH, saying, he was of medium height amongst the people, neither tall nor short, he had a rosy color, neither absolutely white nor deep brown, his hair was neither completely curly nor quite lank. Divine inspiration was revealed to him when he was 40 years old. He stayed 10 years in Mecca receiving the divine inspirations, and stayed in Medina for 10 more years. When he expired he had scarcely 20 white hairs in his head and beard. Rabi said, I saw some of his hairs and it was red. When I asked about that, I was told that it turned red because of scent. Their hadith is referring to their Muhammad who is Wu-Sabat son of Habib al-Hanafi, born 22 years before the real dark-skinned Muhammad. His followers are what are referred to in the Quran as the Desert Arabs, who are in control of Mecca, Jerusalem, and even the tomb of the Mahdi to this day. They formed what they called a sacred brotherhood, or the Ikani Muslimin, the brotherhood of Wu-Sabat, the liar. The Quran called the Holy Quran, or the glorious Quran, as held in the hands of Muslims today, is a product of Jewish scholars and the Catholic Church's branch of the Jesuit priest under Pope Augustine. They planned the poisoning of the Sayyid Muhammad by a Jewish woman named Zainab bint Harith, wife of Salan ibn Mishkam, who is Sayyid Muhammad killed in a battle. This plan was to destroy the original Quran and the teachings of the real Muhammad, and replace it with their version of a Quran, written by Wu-Sabat, with the help of Jewish scholars and Christian scholars. This was to be done by hastening the death of the real Muhammad and placing as his successor, a desert Arab named Abu Bakr, and to kill all of the Ali al-Bayt, which was the family of the Muhammad, starting with his rightful successor Ali. This plan succeeded. The assassins were named Hashim, whose original name is Ammar, which came from the original name of Muhammad's family tribe who stepped in and secretly assassinated all of these fake successors. However, Islam, under Wu-Sabat, has been ruling ever since. The Star of David got into Spain by the Sephardims, who were originally the tribes of Judah, Dan, Benjamin, and Dinah who moved to the south. Benjamin stayed in Yemen and Dinah moved into Ethiopia and on up through Africa by way of Angola, to eventually cross Africa and move into Spain, known there as the Sephardians. They brought with them the Mogan shield, which was originally the shield of Abraham, Genesis 15:1. This was the six-pointed star, also called a hexagram, and represents the two covenants mentioned in Genesis 17:13, one with Ishmael, facing up and the other with Isaac, facing down as above so below. A part of the Sephardims went to Ethiopia, Portugal, the Mediterranean countries, North Africa, then to Spain, where the albino Spaniards mixed with them, and they were pushed out of Spain. These albino Spaniards, who are Jews, are Spanish, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Spaniards. These fake Sephardims were expelled from Spain by the Inquisition of 1492 AD, and were scattered throughout the Mediterranean world along the north coast of Africa, the Turkish Empire, and the Balkans. They eventually stole the original symbol and claimed it as theirs. However, their symbol is an interlocking six-pointed star. The real Sephardims are currently in Yemen, Morocco, Sudan, Ethiopia, and America, as American Negroes. These sacred orders, namely Ancient Arabic Order of Nobles of the Mystic Shrine, from Arabia originally called Aeo and Anams, which came from Morocco, were mystical orders that came from the Moors, and Caucasians were initiated into to be classified as civilized for trade and communication. In fact, the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan dressing in hoods was borrowed from the dress of the Moroccans, a cloak with a long pointed hood, called a silum, which is also worn by the Moor Brotherhood in Seville, Spain, who are the Alhambra. The Alhambra is a Catholic organization founded in 1964 AD, and is patterned after the shrine and accepts membership of 3rd and 4th degree Knights of Columbus. This sacred symbol can also be seen in the Fox Theater in Atlanta, Georgia, which was originally a free Masonic lodge, and has the six-pointed star and crescent of the Shriners, inlaid within the rug. The order was named after the citadel in which the Moors of Spain resided in, overlooking Granada. The emblem of the order is the tower or castile on top of a crescent. They all know of the ancient prophecy. When the angel's triangle, Bermuda Triangle, and the devil's triangle meet the Fertile Crescent, it's the countdown to the end of the world. That was the appearance of the six-pointed star and crescent in 1970 AD. It's called East meeting West Matthew 24:27, and is the resurrection of the Egypt of the West Tamri, in Atlan, with the rebirth of the ancient ones. The Egyptian supreme being Nath, the mighty mother who gave birth to Re-Ra, was referred to as the Lady of the West. The West in the latter title is not referring to the obvious fact that Egypt is west of Greece. For the title is also applied to Egypt. To the west of Egypt can only be one more shred of evidence in support of Atlantis. If you take a look at the back of the dollar bill, you see two main figures. One is our seal, the sacred seal of the Moors, and the other is their seal, the eagle looking eastward. These two seals symbolizes that there are two countries here in the west, which is Egypt, for us, and Greece for them. If you look at our seal, the pyramid, and take the top of the pyramid, with the eye sitting in it, and lay it on top of the bottom pyramid, you get the six-pointed star, or two triangles. One is the Angel's Triangle in Bermuda, called the Bermuda Triangle, on a 32 to 33 degree latitude, which connects from Bermuda, Puerto Rico to Miami, Florida. It is the inverted triangle, it points down. The other is the Devil's Triangle in the Pacific Ocean, also called the Devil's Sea in the Philippine Sea at the Tropic Cancer, 32 to 33 degree latitude. The 3 points are from northern Philippines, Guam, and the east coast of Japan. This is the upright triangle. The Tropic of Cancer is the line that travels straight around the globe and touches all of the special spots, which includes the pyramid in Egypt, and the pyramids in Mexico. Note how the first and last letter of the 5 words in this statement spells out Mason, as we are the original brotherhood responsible for the foundation of this country's government. Now on the other side of this pyramid, where their symbol of the eagle is, you see 13 5-pointed stars within the 14 clouds on top of the eagle's head, which represents the 13 colonies, or nations that were under the laws of Nimrod, whose real name was Sargon II. These are laws under the Code of Hammurabi. The 13 5-pointed stars, as you can see, forms a 6-pointed star, which is the sacred seal of the Moors, as seen inside of the sunburst. If you trace the path of Moors back, you will find us here in North America, South America and Africa. This is our nation by the fact that we as Moors, Egyptians, and Native Americans were here first from birth, and we are naturalized. So, by the definition of nationality, we are all there.